Fulton coming to you on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us as we inch closer towards the Big 12 title game in Dallas, North Texas, Arlington, whatever moniker you want to go with. And then Chiefs versus Bengals coming up on Sunday. This is a game that did not get put into prime time simply because CBS wants to air this thing. This one should be a fun one. We will talk plenty of Chiefs and Bengals. We will get to the Royals' new pitching coach. That is right. I don't hardly know anything about him, but Fulton does. So Fulton is going to let us know who the hell Brian Sweeney is. So we'll get to that. We're going to talk all things Big 12 football with Paul Myerberg and a little college football playoff chatter. It is official. We are on to 12 teams, and the Rose Bowl is on board. We'll hear from the coordinators. Some great stuff from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on Travis Kelce and his brother's podcast, New Heights. We will get to all that. K-State. There's a lot to talk about today on this very first day of December when let it snow here in the month of December. I welcome all the cold weather here in the capital city. You will get no complaints from me unless it goes below zero. And if it goes below zero, then anyone has a right to complain. Because then that's just way too damn cold. Way too cold. This game against the Bengals. And Chiefs fans, let us know on the Big O Tires text line. 785-272-9429. Let us know on Twitter at SportsOn580. At YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Type in SportsOn580. Click on it. Subscribe, and you can watch the show. You can see Fulton's nice beanie that he's got on, because it is cold. It is cold.
It's a wee bit chilly.
It is cold. And let us know. Fulton, are you like me where you remember more of the game in Cincinnati than you do the title game?
A little bit. It's pretty split for me, but I would say if there's the highlights of like the big things that blare in the brain, it's probably more from that game in Cincinnati than the AFC title game.
The AFC title game, the plays that are very vivid to me were the play at the end of the first half when the Chiefs did not get 3 points. And then on first and goal, second and goal, third and goal at the end of the game. Those are the plays that stand out to me. But those aren't, catchy moments. But there were a ton of them in the game against Cincinnati, up in Cincinnati, in the regular season. We have mentioned this before, that the Bengals wide receiving trio and their tight end are good. Jamar Chase looks like he is going to play, which is not a surprise. This was the game that he was targeting. He set out last week knowing that he wanted to be a lot healthier for this game against the Chiefs. You've got T. Higgins, who's had a very good year. Very good year. The Bengals are going to have some interesting decisions to make. Are they going to pay both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? They really got some interesting decisions to make for that football team. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Are you going to pay all of them? But they've got 3 wide receivers, including Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst. They've got weapons. If you look, and Fulton, what I want you to do is I've got a video that I want you to look at. It's very simple. It's the entire game in Cincinnati of Jamar Chase cooking the Kansas City Chiefs. And look through that video. It is 58 seconds.
I got it rolling over here.
It's not a pleasant video. It shows that I was right in saying that Jamar Chase should have been the number 1 pick in that draft because he is a game changer. But when I look at that game, this game reminds me of 2018 Chiefs football and what the Chiefs decided to do. 2018, the Chiefs couldn't stop a nosebleed. Couldn't do anything. And what did they go and do? They changed everything. Traded for Frank Clark, signed Tyrann Mathieu, signed a whole bunch of guys, right? Needed a culture change. This game right here in 2021 changed what the Chiefs did on defense in the secondary for this year. That's how big this is. On all of those plays, here's who were in the secondary and defending those plays, right? You had Charvarius Ward got cooked twice. He is no longer with the Kansas City Chiefs. Charvarius Ward, gone. Dan Sorensen forgot how to play cover 2, apparently. He is gone. There's Tyrann Mathieu taking some poor angles. He is gone. There's Mike Hughes. You remember Mike Hughes?
Oh, I remember.
Viking legend Mike Hughes. He was on there. Didn't play well. And then you got Rashad Fenton. That is Sorensen, Mathieu, Ward, Fenton, and Mike Hughes. That is 5 individuals in that game against the Bengals. Insert new guys. Insert McDuffie. Insert Watson. Insert Reed. You still have Juan Thornhill on the roster, but look at all those bad plays. Bad angles, some bad coverage, no ball skills. Some of it is Jamar Chase is really good. Some of it is the Chiefs' corners were not good. There's a reason why Fenton got traded for a 6th-round pick, that Mike Hughes, I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. Dan Sorensen is hardly playing, and Tyrann Mathieu is not the player that he once was.
No. Got paid like he was the player that he once was.
So that is what I look at in this game. The 3 corners who are going to defend Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Hurst, they're not on the team last year, except for L'Jarius Sneed, but he really didn't guard those guys because he was in the slot.
Yeah, no, he was being asked to do something a little bit differently.
So you have McDuffie, Watson, Williams, and then Reed and Brian Cook. Really, it's more of Reed takes the place of Mathieu, and then a combination of Thornhill and Cook replacing Sorensen. And so I look at this as this is the Chiefs' answer to the problem of last year. They got new guys. We think that they're playing pretty well in the secondary. And if you look back at this Chiefs team this year, here's what's funny is the Chiefs secondary has given up a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, they have.
They have. But I don't feel like they've been cooked via the pass a lot.
No, they're not long
you know what I mean?
touchdowns.
You know what I mean?
They're not long. They're not often like massively wide open. And then other levels of this is where, context matters and those different things. Part of the reason the Chiefs have given up the most passing touchdowns in the NFL is that they're getting passed against more than any team in the NFL
agreed.
Because they're leading in literally almost every game they play. They're having to be passed against, therefore you're led to more. It's the same reason why the Chiefs rush defense looks very good statistically, but if you watch it, it kind of is different. But the reason why is because teams just don't run it.
The game that I look back on and go, man, the Chiefs secondary had a tough go was the game against the Bills. All right. And who was the guy who got picked on? It was Josh Williams. The game against the Chargers at the end of the game, that was frustrating because on a 3rd and forever, they threw just a, hey, Keenan, I hope you're open, make it work. If you take that play out, honestly, the last half of the year has been pretty darn good for the Kansas City Chiefs, but they haven't faced great quarterbacks. So I don't know what to expect with this group, because the game against the Bills, Josh Williams was in a pretty good spot, if you remember, on both of those touchdowns against Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, he was in a good spot. Just was a better throw by Josh Allen, some good plays by Davis and by Diggs.
And he was there, but didn't turn his head around.
Yep.
And that's a difficult thing to do, especially when today's throw, the back shoulder throw, is a difficult one. And that's what happened to Charvarius Ward on a couple of those big plays. But that's part of playing corner. That's part of also wanting to move on. And so the Kansas City Chiefs have got Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed and Justin Watson, who are going to go up against Higgins, going to go up against, Jamar Chase. And how's that going to be? Because that is what this game will come down to. This game will come down to how well the Chiefs' new defensive backs handle the Bengals wide receivers. And it's not just them, because defense as a whole, it's not like, one guy's going to do this and that's the game. If the Chiefs get a pass rush, it makes the life easier on these corners. They didn't get a pass rush against the Bengals in the 2 games that they played, and it hurt them. But if these new corners, this is the new era. There's only one guy who's back from last year who played him a bunch of snaps, and that was L'Jarius Sneed. That was it. So this is, to me, the mini version of the 2028 season for 2019, the 2021 season. That game, they said, we can't let that happen anymore. And for the most part, that has been the case this year, except for a couple of plays here and there. They've been pretty good. And that is why this game is completely different than last year's game. It really is, because the personnel is so much different in the secondary for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are young. Maybe they'll have a little bit better. I am so excited to see McDuffie go up against Higgins and Jamar Chase.
It's going to be fascinating to watch what happens, because if you think about it, at least in the first matchup in Cincinnati, that game gets turned on its head if the Chiefs can just make a couple plays on those deep throws down the field and contain a little bit better. And so you can see that could change. And then in the AFC title game, some of the big plays that they got were because the Chiefs got beat deep again. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens from that corner perspective. This game has a lot more juice to it than I thought it would have. I thought there'd be something there for some of the guys because of what's happened. And now you got Justin Reed, Jamar Chase going at it on Twitter, which is so much high levels of comedy, which is just fantastic. You got Hayden Hurst taking shots at Justin Reed now, which is also funny. And then there is an interesting, I think, point for the Chiefs. Do you know how many teams have beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times in his career? Playoffs included, have beaten him 3 times.
Well, the first one that jumps out to me is Patriots, but I don't think they have. They beat him in the regular season because Shaw was guarding Gronk. I'll never get that out of my head. He lied about jumping off a balcony.
Yes.
And then they lost in the AFC title game. I'm going to say no one has.
Correct. Patrick Mahomes has never lost 3 games to a team. No one, playoffs included, have ever beaten him 3 times. The Patriots have beaten him twice. The Titans have beaten him twice. No one's beaten him 3 times. And no one, even more so, the Colts have beaten him twice. More so, he's never lost 3 in a row to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a plot to this that is the Bengals are trying to do something no one's done to the Chiefs with Mahomes. They're trying to truly establish a level of not really dominance, but being able to say, we're right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't push this around. Like, because if you look at his win-loss against everybody else, they've been bullying the AFC.
Correct.
Since Mahomes came in the start in 2018, the Chiefs have bullied the AFC.
Except for the Bengals. I mean, because they're even with the Titans now since they beat the Titans this year, I think.
Let's see. I'm gonna double check here. At least I know for sure in the regular. Where's my where's I have all these things.
I include the postseason because those are
I believe we're 2-2 at this point. I believe we are 2-2. I will doubly check that, but I believe it is Mahomes is now 2-2 because he has the 2 regular season losses, the 1 regular season win, which just came this year,
and then the playoff.
Yeah,
I count the playoff game.
Oh no, I do. That's what we're doing this exercise. Yeah, Mahomes is 2-2.
Okay,
playoffs including against Tennessee. Like, the changes the Chiefs have made to beat the Bengals are important because we do all this talk about the Chiefs and Bills, which we should, with how good Josh Allen is and what they've been doing. That conversation needs to be had. But there's a conversation that needs to start potentially happening with Chiefs and Bengals. Because look at when the Bills have tried to compete with the Chiefs. It's been good, but Bills torched the Chiefs in the regular season, did great work, then lost the heartbreaking game in the playoffs. This year, slugfest between the two teams. Then there was the game in Buffalo where the Chiefs ran all over them. They were always still close, though, and some of the different factors. The Bengals with Joe Burrow have not lost to Kansas City.
No. So a team that Mahomes hasn't beaten that he's played.
Yes. Like, that context matters, I think, in these discussions, because it matters in the fact that the Chiefs have so many new guys. I think that is important for the on-the-field things. I think it's also important to know off-the-field context. This game has that juice to it, to where if the Bengals find a way to win, like, this becomes
they got the kryptonite.
We can all say that their run to the Super Bowl was a little fluky and all those different things. You can, whatever you want to say there. What you can't deny is the Bengals would have been the only team to beat Mahomes 3 straight times.
And they'd be sitting at 8-4.
They would.
Yeah, that's the big one. Coming up next, Brian Sweeney. Why is that guy important? Well, we'll tell you that next. Been waiting for quite some time. They have now made the move. The Royals are hiring Brian Sweeney as their new pitching coach. Sweeney, a former major league pitcher with the Padres and the Mariners, had been a coach with the Guardians since 2018 and their bullpen coach since 2020. So they got their pitching coach, but also maybe their pitching, head of pitching, if you will. Guardians have had good pitchers. He's a bullpen coach. I mean, that's all I got.
So, no, the big thing for Brian Sweeney is the Guardians never really wanted to get rid of him. Back in 2019, they dismissed one of their former pitching staffers, Scott Atkinson, in part so that they could promote Brian Sweeney to therefore not lose him. That's how much they enjoyed him and his work. He's been the bullpen coach the past, I think, 3 years or so over there in Cleveland. I mean, their bullpen's also been very good during that time. The big thing with Sweeney, as is unsurprising with all these recent moves, very big into, I'll use the no-no word, analytics. Very big into the data and knowing how to use that to get the best out of his pitchers. This is the right kind of guy the Royals needed. It's the right type of guy I thought they would bring in as a pitching coach.
Is he going to be the head of pitching? I want the pitching to be uniform from the A ball all the way up to the big.
I would have to assume with him being announced as the pitching coach that if they're going to go for a director of pitching, it'll be a different person that will be hired. I think Brian Sweeney's job is big league staff. That's his job to control. Outside of that, I'm with you. I wouldn't mind some kind of a director of pitching and organizational flow. I think that if we get that, it'll be later. But he's a forward-thinking mind who's going to be able to use the numbers to help. Oh, big yay.
Big yay.
Big yay.
So we like
this is the right call.
The coaching staff.
This is a good call.
All right.
This is a good staff to start with.
If they stink, it's on you.
Fair enough.
Coming up next, we talk all things Big 12 football with Paul Myerberg. It is our Big 12 breakdown brought to you by the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. You can check out all of the games at the 23rd Street Brewery there on Clinton Parkway. Fantastic. I recommend the Bill Self. It is delicious. Don't know if there's a Lance Leipold there yet. We'll have to take a peek at that one. But to talk all things Big 12 football, he's the man that knows more college football than you do. You need to listen to what he says. He is Paul Myerberg from USA Today. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, we've made it to championship weekend. K-State, TCU. Are you more surprised that TCU's there than K-State or vice versa?
I guess it depends where we're starting that question, right? Like if we go back to August, I think when we spoke first time this season, I felt really good about Kansas State. So I'm going to wear that medal that I am giving to myself.
And you should.
All winter long. I said this was a 9 or 10 win team. Thank you very much. TCU, obviously, huge surprise. What I'm wondering with that question is I think we, for a couple times, like maybe early November up through mid-November, we always ended our segment by asking, hey, who's going to make the Big 12 championship game as of today? So I think we got TCU Kansas State lined up probably by the middle of November. So August, super surprising to see TCU, but I think we all had an idea as of the last 3 weeks or so that this is where this was heading, even after Kansas State lost to UT.
When it comes to the K-State game, it was a game that K-State obviously had to win since Texas won earlier in the day. But it was a game that, okay, they were a 2-point conversion away from being a one-score game, but yet KU only scored 6 points in the fourth quarter or in the second half. That's a pretty good job defensively. How did you kind of gauge that game in which KU had Jalen Daniels and he looked good going up against that K-State defense?
Yeah, this was a game that was there are some games where, in the cop movies where the guy's like, hey, move along, don't stand around here, nothing to see here. It was that kind of game. It never felt competitive. Kansas State did their job, as we spoke about last week. Do not turn the ball over. Run the ball successfully on early downs. This is a very simple blueprint. They did just that, and this game to me was over. I mean, before kickoff, but certainly was over early in the second quarter, even though Kansas, like you said, got within 9 points. Just a solid, strong performance by Kansas State that sets them up to have a really great day on Saturday. So no surprises to me at all that they got it done. I did not think, based off what they had at stake and the way that they had been playing, there was really no thought in my mind that KU was going to be able to pull off this upset.
Let's go quickly to TCU Iowa State. Holy smokes. Did not see TCU putting up 60.
I definitely did not, considering that Iowa State has statistically the best defense in the Big 12, and it's really not even close. And it was even farther away before Saturday. Give TCU a lot of credit here. I mean, obviously Iowa State shot themselves in the foot early, a bunch of turnovers, nothing going whatsoever with Deckers, who had just a miserable season. But TCU and Iowa State, both these teams had played tight games all season long. TCU, you have to go back to, Oklahoma, right? Their first Big 12 game, I believe, to last time it wasn't 10 or fewer points. So TCU also, like Kansas State, they're playing high on confidence going into Saturday. I think they needed to stretch their legs out a bit, give Duggan and those guys a break, and very successful way to end the regular season. Obviously, if they had lost that game, they still could have gotten in by beating Kansas State. But as we've seen, they're in a terrific position right now to lose on Saturday and still make the playoff. So credit to TCU for not backing down, and we're actually really closing things on a very high note considering where they had been previously in the month against Baylor and other teams.
We will get to that topic here in just a little bit with TCU and who gets in and who doesn't, depending upon the results on Saturday. But TCU, K-State, they played a barn burner down in Fort Worth. Will Howard looked like Dan Marino in the first half. Then he gets hurt, and it all fell apart. K-State's averaging 40 points a game with Will Howard at quarterback. He is playing like Dan Marino. Passing game is good. Deuce Vaughn is going well. TCU, they went undefeated, and they have played some terrific football. How do you look at this game? Where's the big points of emphasis?
Yeah, the point of emphasis is I really believe this, guys. Kansas State is in a very good place to win this game as long as they don't commit the turnovers. And the turnovers under Will Howard have disappeared, I mean, compared to where he was as a freshman and sophomore. And I really think that the ability to be aggressive, but also not take extreme chances that'll flip field, give possessions, lose possessions, have been a really big deal for Kansas State, especially in the passing game. So I look at TCU. They are good on defense, a lot better, I think, than they get credit for. But nonetheless, even in recent weeks, you've seen teams able to run the ball on TCU. And I have no doubt in my mind, Kansas State is going to hammer them and hammer them and hammer them with the dual benefit of not just loosening up that defense, but also keeping their offense off the field. I just really have thought, and I've been thinking about this game since we knew it was going to happen the last 8 or 9 days. I really and truly believe that Kansas State's going to win this football game as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot. It's not a matter of them having more to play for or less. Obviously, both teams are very, very, very highly motivated. But if you look back into October, Kansas State had this game in their back pocket. They really and truly did. And they were undone by, quite simply, an inability to get the ball, keep the ball, and keep TCU on the sideline. Because if you look at their per play average in that game, they were extremely, extremely successful. One of their best performances on the season. Kansas State knows they can move the football on TCU. They're playing at an extremely high level on offense. I think TCU will also score points, but I really like Kansas State in this football game. And I also like Kansas State to win this game and TCU still to land in the top 4 when all is said and done.
When it comes to the TCU offense, because, boy, Max Duggan has been outstanding. Kendre Miller, awesome. Johnson, fantastic. Where's the concern for K-State's defense? Is it, without Kobe Savage? Is it going up against Johnson? Is it Duggan running it? I mean, I don't think TCU is getting enough credit offensively for what they're able to do this year.
Yeah, and you know what? To me, I understand that Max Duggan's the dude. He's going to go to Manhattan, and he should, as a Heisman Trophy finalist. But if you look at their season, when they are at their best offensively, that's when they're really running the football. And when they run the ball effectively, it opens things up. And if you look at their closest game, and I know they've had a bunch, but the games that really came down to the wire, Baylor, Texas, to a lesser degree, Kansas, these are the games where they struggle to run the football. So to me, if you're Kansas State, you can't just say to yourselves defensively, we need to stop Max Duggan, because let's be honest, I don't think you're going to be able to. And that's not so much about Duggan as much as it's about Duggan and this scheme. This scheme is predicated to get yards through the air. You're not going to stop that. So if I'm Kansas State, and these guys know what they're doing, if I'm Kansas State, I look at the TCU running game, I look at Miller, and I say, I need to slow this down. I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to give up 130, 140 on the ground. I have to live with that. But I'm going to focus on slowing this down and making TCU work. Where they can get big gains on the ground, it's pretty much over. So that, to me, is the focus for Kansas State. You're not going to shut them down. You're not going to stop them. But if you can make them a little bit more one-dimensional, you win. And the way to make them one-dimensional is not to try to take the passing game away. It's to try to limit the running game. So watch Kansas State do that. They can't really devote all this energy to do it because you don't want to have guys just on an island on the back end. But I do think you'll see them be very aggressive on early downs while they try to figure out TCU's rhythm in an effort to slow down the running game. That's a very easy key to success for this defense.
Do you think K-State's run defense, is good enough to do that?
I don't. Well, rephrase. I don't think they're good enough to just say, hey, we're going to roll out of bed and you're done. I mean, they have played well all season. They've also had opportunities to, where they flopped. And I think they flopped against TCU and their ability to stop the run. They flopped against Texas. The difference, I think, in these games and what you've seen recently is that TCU, like Texas, has an elite running back. So it's not that easy just to flip a switch and say, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple weeks, they've been very good. Kansas has a very good running game. They shut them down. Baylor's running game at times has been pretty strong. They stopped them. So I know they can do it. They're not going to just put up 50 rushing yards. But I think Kansas State can have enough success to do what they need to do to win a game that's probably decided by 7 points or 10 points.
We're talking with Paul Myerberg. He is our Big 12 insider, brought to you by the 23rd Street Brewery there in Lawrence on Clinton Parkway. Head on over there to watch all the games this Friday, because we got the Pac-12 title game coming up on Friday, as well as Saturday. You can check out the Chiefs versus the Bengals coming up on Sunday at the 23rd Street Brewery. All right, Paul, you just kind of said it. If TCU wins, they're the 3 seed, because I think Georgia's going to hammer LSU, and I think Michigan is going to beat Purdue. So if they win, they're the 3 seed. You think if they lose, they're still going to be in over Ohio State? Because that's the only other team. I was talking with my brother about this, and I said there's 4 spots for 5 teams. I differ. I think that they're not going to put in TCU if they lose. I think they're going to put in Ohio State because they're Ohio State. Why do you think they're going to keep TCU in if they lose? Well,
first off, if they don't put them in, it's exactly because of the reason you said, because it's Ohio State. That's the only reason. It would boggle my mind if they did. You're just putting in a team that just got whipped, absolutely whipped by their rival, by one of the top 2 teams in the country. I don't, for the life of me, know that how you could put them in. That would be unprecedented. Having said that, it is possible. I just believe that TCU has buffer. TCU has the buffer of USC. They also have the obvious opportunity that there's no way that Alabama's getting in. So there is very, very, very rare and thin room for error for a TCU or for the committee looking at this argument to say that a 12-1 TCU team has not achieved enough to get in ahead of an 11-1 Ohio State team. But if you look at the entire picture of this, TCU has wins. Will have if they lose to Kansas State, they still have a top 10 win against Kansas State, which I think is really important. They got wins against bowl teams in Oklahoma and Kansas, Oklahoma State, K-State, and Texas Tech, and Texas, and in Baylor. That's a lot of bowl wins. And truth be told, their number 1 win is better than Ohio State's number 1 win. I don't even know what Ohio State's number 1 win would really be. It's Penn State, which probably would be lower than Kansas State if they beat TCU. So just to me, I feel safe saying that TCU at 12-1 will still hold off Ohio State. I really do feel that way. I think there's been a change in perception of TCU from the committee as they've seen them go 12-0, and I do think they'll have the room for error to do that. If it had been different, guys, if it had been Texas in this game at 8-4, yeah, that's going to be tougher to explain away. But if you lose to Kansas State, you have already beaten them this year. It's a top 10 loss, and I think that still allows them to get in. They'll sweat it out. If they lose by 17, they're going to sweat it out big time. But I still think that the argument is there for TCU to get in ahead of Ohio State at 11-1.
If USC loses to Utah, then no questions asked, TCU is in, no matter what happens, because USC would have 2 losses, and they would at least get the 3rd or 4th spot. So to me, they've got 2 outs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you win, you're in. If USC loses, you're in, because they're not going to have 2 teams with 2 losses jump TCU with 1 loss.
Exactly. So that's a really good conversation to have about Friday night's rooting interest. You want to root for Utah if you're TCU or you're a Big 12 supporter, because it does give you that opportunity to take a step back and breathe easy going into Saturday. At the same time, if USC loses and TCU loses, you're playing Georgia round 1. So in a sense, you just want to beat Kansas State because you don't want to play Georgia round 1. I'd much rather play Michigan than Georgia round 1. I think Michigan's a hell of a football team. You don't really want to play anyone. You'd rather play Michigan State, but I don't think you want to play Georgia round 1. So seeding matters. What happens on Friday night matters. If SC loses, you're obviously in, but if SC loses, you might play Georgia. We're overcomplicating things for TCU. Win and in, don't get blown out, you're in. Point blank. Let's just leave it like that.
All righty. some other things happening with the college football world. Lance Leipold got a contract extension. They're going to pay him $5 million to be the head coach of KU. Is that a good move? And is Lance Leipold worth $5 million to be the head coach at KU?
Yeah, the $5 million thing is like becoming extremely mind-boggling because the market has been set now at 7.5 to 9.5 or $10 million for very top of the line coach. You saw Matt Rule at the end of his deal in Nebraska is going to be like 12.5 million.
Incredible.
Bickle's going to average about 8.5. So $5 million, guys, it's a lot of money. Like I dream at night about what I would do with $5 million. I would do so much fun stuff. I'll do a lot more fun stuff than Leipold will do. He'll probably just get a truck and a house or something. But I think $5 million in this market is really, really good money for a coach of Leipold's ability, for a coach like Leipold, who has had a very quick turnaround and set things up to be really explosive the next 3 or 4 years. I think they're going to have to rework it at some point. But for the next 24 months, $5 million a year for Lance Leipold is a steal. Let's just be honest. It's a new landscape, a new world, and $5 million is a really good deal if you know you have a coach who wants to be there and that you know you can win with. So I think it's awesome. It's great for KU. If he stays through 2029, it means amazing things have happened for this program.
I said yesterday when the official numbers were released, I go, the guy who is probably even more excited that Lance Leipold got a $5 million contract is Chris Kleiman. Because if Chris Kleiman wins on Saturday and he gets you to the Big 12 title, he's got a great recruiting class coming in. You got a 4-star Elite 11 quarterback, local kid here in Kansas, and Avery Johnson. You got Will Howard coming back, which makes it even more exciting that Will Howard can be your senior. Johnson can learn. And you got a nice little pipeline of about 6 years of good quarterback play, looks like. He's got to get paid here, right?
Absolutely. I've heard really nice things, and this is kind of off topic. Heard really nice things about this kid, Avery Johnson. So, yeah, I do think that things are lining up for Kansas State. And it's funny, guys, like we've talked about K-State all year long, and we haven't really discussed at all like, what the future looks like. And I've been thinking about this, and I wrote kind of a blurb about it when I was talking about Kansas State over the weekend. The future for Kansas State is extremely bright. Like, we're not talking about this at all. But Kansas State's future looks awesome. And it's never going to be a 95 through 98 run or whatever you'd say, 96 through 99 run like it was under Snyder. They're not going 11-1, 11-1, 10-2, 11-1. It's just too difficult to do that. But I'm looking at what they've established, not just personnel-wise, not just what they have coming in, but schematically. In terms of an identity, in terms of the culture, the chemistry, I look at this program and I see one that is not taking any steps back to me in the near future. This is not a national championship program. We have to be fair, but it is a playoff program potentially when we get to 12 teams based off how they've played and what I see as the progress that's being made. And as I look towards 23 and 24 and 25, I'd have to see something different very clearly before I take Kansas State out of my preseason top 25 every year. Because I do think that a hurdle has been passed. And we've talked about Howard. Howard, to me, is a shining example of the progress this program has made. He was a disaster for his first 2 years. Like I said, opposite of the human victory cigar. When he went in the game, it was over. Kansas State was going to lose. His development mirrors the development of the program as a whole. Guys who have stayed in the program for 2, 3, 4 years, who are blossoming, who are turning into borderline all-conference players, definite starters. I love the future here for Kansas State. And if he does not get paid more than $5 million a year, I'll just tell you, someone else will. Because people are paying attention, including that school up north and others, about what Kleiman is doing, and they better pay him. And I know they will, because they need to. He is the answer for Kansas State. And as long as he's there, this is an 8 or 9 win program every single year, in my mind.
Let's get to the college football playoff news today. It's official, 12 teams, because the Rose Bowl decided that they want to be a part of it. We are not Big Ten people. I am not a Big Ten or a Pac-12 guy. Brendan loves the Rose Bowl. He's a Big Ten guy. He grew up there in Illinois. What is all the fuss about? They should have just sent a text to the Rose Bowl guy and say, look, are you in or out? I don't really give a damn because we're going to do this regardless. So what do you want to do here? Like, there's so much fuss about this. Is it because I'm not a Rose Bowl guy?
Yeah, I don't know how you get to be a Rose Bowl fan in Illinois. I mean, Illinois and the Rose Bowl, those things, that's only happened like 3 or 4 times. And I think Red Grange was playing. In my opinion, I believe that that's how this conversation ended. The playoff was like, hey, you up? Because if you're not, we're just going to go forward with this. And the Rose Bowl finally said, fine. I don't believe that the Rose Bowl for a current generation of people really means that much. For people when there was like 2 games a year on TV, the Rose Bowl was a big deal. Like you woke up, you had your coffee, you smoked a pack of cigarettes, and you watched the parade, and then you watched Michigan play USC. And that was part of college football lore. It's not quite like that anymore. I get the appeal when you're at the game. I've sat in the Rose Bowl for big games, for normal Rose Bowls. I've seen the sun come down over the mountains, and it's pretty cool, guys. I got to be honest. But the Rose Bowl had to get on board or get left behind. So, the playoff was going to expand with or without the Rose Bowl. It's good to have them in the mix, but look, like college football will eventually move on without the Rose Bowl when all the people who wear the yellow jacket pass away. But it's good to have them involved. Let's not wait for them anymore because we need to move forward.
All righty. Did they get it right? Did the college football committee and all of that, did college football get it right with the 12-team playoff?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the important thing to remember that's positive is that you are going to get an automatic group of 5 team in there. You'll get one. I think that's good for football. I think it's good to give the 4 conference champions, the top 4 conference champions, a bye. I think that rewards having a really good regular season still. I think it'll change November, make November games a little bit different. It might minimize the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, for instance, if both teams are going to get in anyway. But if I could get one thing changed, it would be please, 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 don't play first-round games or don't play quarterfinal games, if possible, at these random bowls. I mean, give the teams that had a bye another benefit of hosting another home game. And I know that's different. I know a lot of people want no home games. They want all neutral site. But I think if you want to reward those top 4 teams, reward them with a home game and not just have them play in the Rose Bowl or the Cotton Bowl and have half a crowd there. So 99% right. I'd get 1% different if I could do it myself.
All righty, 2 for the road. Last 2 questions I've got for you. The first one, who wins the Heisman?
Caleb Williams, USC. At this point, I expect it to be a bit of a runaway. I know that's surprising, but yeah, I expect him to get the majority of first place votes as people are voting this week and through Saturday.
Right now, if I gave you Georgia or the field for the title, who you taking?
I'm taking the field because I believe right now it's 1:55 Eastern on December 1st that Michigan's going to win the national championship. I reserve the right to change that at any point in the next 30 days, but I think Michigan has what it takes to win it this year.
Paul, you're the best. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week about the college football playoff.
Sounds awesome, guys. Thank you.
Paul Myerberg, USA Today. He is the best. The best. That is our Big 12 breakdown brought to you by the 23rd Street Brewery. We'll get to what Patrick Mahomes had to say on the New Heights podcast next.
Ring in the holiday season.
Mic'd up, coming to you on a Thursday. Jake Lamont, along with Fulton Caster. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know on Twitter at SportsOn580 and on our YouTube page. Very simple, very easy. Go to youtube.com, type in SportsOn580, click on it, click the subscribe button. If you want to hear all of our recaps, analysis from KU, K-State, Chiefs, Royals, high school, Washburn, all on our YouTube page, and all of our shows streamed on our YouTube page. So let us know. Everyone loves the list. Today is National Christmas Lights Day. So we're going to go with the best Christmas lights and the style, setup, all that kind of stuff. You know, are you Clark Griswold or are you Scrooge?
I will openly say there's a correct opinion to have on certain types of Christmas lights, and there are incorrect opinions to have. I will openly say that.
All Christmas lights are good.
Yes.
Because it's a good thing.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, there are, like, the umbrellas, all Christmas lights are good.
Yes.
But there are certain Christmas lights and styles and ways and colors that I think make it better.
Yes. There are ones within that umbrella that are distinctly better than others.
You know? Whereas, like, some people's like, any pizza is good pizza. There's just better. No, there's bad pizza.
No, bad pizza exists.
There's bad pizza.
We've had it.
Yes. Okay. If you put forth the effort and put up Christmas lights,
you'll never go wrong.
No.
It's impossible to go wrong.
No. Now,
but you can be more right.
Yeah, you can look at it and be like, oh, you tried. Hey. So we'll get to that. And then we're going to hear from Steve Spags, Eric Bieniemy, leading into the game coming up on Sunday. I thought this was interesting. Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce have a podcast. They're brothers who might go into the Hall of Fame. That's wild. It's called New Heights. It's very interesting. They have a lot of fun with it, especially because they're both all pros and both fun characters. Well, they brought Patrick Mahomes on for an interview. And this is a Patrick Mahomes like we have never seen him before. You haven't. He's laid back. It's more of a chat with the boys type of deal, you know? Or who was the coach? Was it he coached at, was it Boston College or is it Pitt? And then he went to Colorado State. He was like, just a bunch of guys being dudes.
I can't remember.
Who was that? I think he was the coach at Colorado State. And was it Narduzzi? Was it Boston?
It might have been Pat Narduzzi. Steve Adazio.
Steve Adazio. That's it.
Boston College football coach, Steve Adazio.
Yeah. He said the term, gosh, just a bunch of guys being
What's
dudes.
better than this, man? Guys being dudes.
Right? A bunch of guys being dudes. That is what this is. Yes. Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes chatting.
Just some guys being dudes.
It's good stuff. It really is. It's a fun podcast. I like both the Kelce brothers. Good stuff. But Mahomes shared some stories that I've never heard of. And I thought it was interesting. So here's what Patrick Mahomes said about draft stories on being drafted back in 2017. Here is what they had to say.
The first day that I met Coach Reed was at the facility. We had like the meetings, like the top 30 visits. So I was in there for like 5 hours. He's just going through plays. And I'm going to give you all the inside scoop. Matt Nagy, who was the offensive coordinator then, he really liked me. So he gave me the plays they were going to go over the night before. So Coach Reed's finding out here live on New Heights podcast.
Oh my gosh. Matt Nagy. How could you?
Let's go.
And yeah, so of course I crushed the meeting. I stayed up all night studying those plays.
It's like, man, this kid is locked in. We got ourselves a winner here.
As the process went on, I got a feeling that I was kind of going up in the draft. I had a couple of teams that said they were going to draft me, and that's true. Like, it's not like these coaches are making that up. I talked to them during the draft process, and they were like, hey, if you're there, we're gonna take you. I kind of gave a little inside info to the Chiefs, and I was like, hey, if y'all let me go anywhere below, at the time I didn't know about the Saints, but I was like, if y'all let me go 12 or below, I'm gonna get drafted by someone else.
You drafted yourself?
And so I gave the Chiefs a little bit of info on that because I wanted to be here.
Let's go.
There's Matt Nagy might be the key to this all, Fulton. He gave Mahomes the answers to the test. He said, man, I really like it. Here's what we're going to do tomorrow. Because it's a 2-day visit, you stay overnight and everything like that. And Reed might have been like, oh my gosh, this guy's memory is just incredible. Matt Nagy gave him the answers. All he had to do was memorize them. To his credit, he did. What?
I just wanted to be clear. Matt Nagy did a move that if this was at the NCAA, Patrick Mahomes would have been made ineligible to play football.
What? Granted, he was no longer in the NCAA.
Yeah, I know. That's the joke here.
That, like the stuff that we've been told is that Andy Reid said that Mahomes is the best in front of the whiteboard we've ever
give him
seen.
on the whiteboard. Well, I mean, part of it is he get the answer to the test.
Oh my goodness. Like, I heard that, and even, like, everybody's like, oh, my, that is incredible. Like, right now, my opinion of Matt Nagy, through the roof. Seriously. Yeah. Like, it might not have helped. It might, maybe it wouldn't have mattered that they still liked him anyways, but, wow, that's so crazy.
And Nagy wanted to get his guy. He was going to make sure to get his guy.
Then, how many people would do that? And maybe I don't know the draft process. I don't know. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky was like, hey, Bears, if you don't draft me, somebody will, right? But Mahomes sent a message to the Chiefs basically saying, yo, if you don't scoop me up before 11 or 12, I'm gone. So y'all need to move up. Because he clearly wanted to go to the Chiefs.
Yeah, he wanted to be in Kansas City.
He wanted to go to, no surprise, Andy Reid, you play for Andy Reid, things you're going to be pretty
Good things
good.
happen.
He said, hey, you kind of want to be drafted in the back end of the first round because you're still a first round pick, but you get on a better team. So the fact that the Chiefs, who were a good team at the time, traded up to get him. I mean, y'all need to draft me now. And they did. They moved up to number 10. That's kind of a fun little story. This goes back to Alex Smith just being one of the best. Patrick Mahomes talked about Alex Smith, and this is incredible from Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith gave Patrick Mahomes 7 to 8 years worth of knowledge in less than a year. Listen to this clip because it talks about how Alex Smith told Patrick Mahomes how to compartmentalize and how to prepare for the entire week. So what do you need to do? Give me a schedule. And he's like, Alex gave me so much information that he went through that I didn't have to go through. Listen to what Mahomes had to say about Alex Smith and just kind of veterans.
Did he teach you a certain level of like professional, like little like nuggets of gold like that? Like I'm not even sure what to even ask in terms of that because
I think the biggest thing Alex did for me was teach me what I need to watch film wise during the week. What days to watch it to prepare yourself for the next day. And for me, I come in Monday, Tuesday, and I'm just watching games. I obviously watch the game we played the day before, but I'm watching like 5 to 6 games of the other team just to get a general sense of the feeling of what they're doing. And then after we put the base install plan in, I watched the third down cut up before I leave the building that day because Alex did that. And it taught me let's get a day ahead on the third downs before I step in here and we get the plan in here. Let me have a day ahead on that. And then the same thing the next day with the red zone. And then the short yardage and goal line. It's the same. Every day I kind of would just add a little by little. So it didn't overwhelm me and I wasn't watching so much film at once. But I have a good feeling for each situation in the game. And it helped me so much because instead of just playing out there, when I get in situations in the game, I have a good feeling for the defense likes to get to these coverages. They like to play this leverage on the DB with the DBs. And it helps me execute at a high level. So having Alex, man, I'll forever say it, man. It probably made my game jump 3 steps when I could have took 3 years to get those 3 steps.
100%, man. There was probably a lot of trial and error through that guy's career that got him to the point where he got that perfect routine Monday through Friday.
Dude, the guy had,
you know what I mean?
The guy had 7 offensive coordinators in 6 years in San Francisco, man. I mean, he literally had to learn by through trial by fire, and he taught me how to not make those same mistakes. And from little things like in under center, I'm coming from the shotgun every single play. He's like, hey, have your feet like this. It'll help you get out from under center faster. Okay. I mean, like just little things like that you would never think of when you step into the league.
Man, those vet guys you can lean on, man. You don't realize how much they change your perspective on the game until I want to say until they leave. But for me, that was huge for a guy like Anthony Fasano. My first couple years coming in and just observing how he's a professional Monday through Friday, and to find those routine things to keep your body fresh every Sunday. You got to do certain stuff in the weight room, on the field, and recovery, and all this stuff. And Anthony he didn't have to do that. Like you said, there's a lot of guys out here that are saying, I'm not a mentor, man. I'm not out here, all right. If you're a team guy, you're going to help the guy next to you, no matter if the world thinks he's better than you or not.
I mean, that is how important Alex Smith was to Patrick Mahomes. And it's so true. How do you, what's the I don't know if it's a fable saying, but let's see if you know this answer, Fulton. How do you eat an elephant? You obviously have not heard that.
I think I've heard it somewhere. I forgot the ending to it, but it's not entirely different. I thought it was something along the lines of we eat it one piece at a time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. How do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. You got to go small. Then that's how you do it. One step at it. How do you eat an elephant? Well, you start here and you just keep on going, right? That's kind of the approach. You can be overwhelmed by the process. Hey, Monday and Tuesday, I just watch games. But then Tuesday night, I prepare for Wednesday. I do third downs because that's what they're going to do on Wednesday. So you prepare a little bit so you're ahead of the game. Then on Wednesday night, if you get home, you go red zone. Okay, we're going to work on red zone because you're going to do that on Thursday. So you do Thursday red zone. Then what do you do Thursday night? You work on goal line and short yardage. Maybe they need to work on goal line and short yardage a little bit more.
Mm.
But that was for Friday. Like, if you listen to what he had to say there, it's how do you prepare during the week? Well, you don't just put, everything together in one day. You don't cram everything, third down, short yardage, red zone, between the 20s, backed up, all on Tuesday. You get, it just doesn't work. And that's such a great piece of advice. And he said, this is a shout out to the vets out there, but also I question the coaching. A coach is supposed to know, hey, Pat, put your feet like this to get out of there quicker. Like, isn't that what a coach is supposed to be there for? Not a veteran. But that's even more important. What you can learn for a veteran is that they live it. They play it. The coach hasn't played it in a while.
Yeah, coaches don't know everything. And, that's okay. Like that, it's hard to know everything. So there's such a big advantage in not only having a good coaching staff that can teach you the fundamentals and a lot of their different things they're specialized in, but then vets to share with you just tips and tricks they've learned from just being.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Now they this is where they got kind of like serious in the podcast. The most of the time they just had a lot of fun with it from the New Heights podcast. But they asked Mahomes what would he do differently, or what advice would you give to a high schooler or a college kid? And this is what Patrick Mahomes said.
Yeah, I would say be all in. If you truly care about this thing, man, be all in. And when I look back at my career, I think about in college, I feel like I wasn't all in. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went to class. I would go do the workouts and stuff like that when I was supposed to be there. But once I got to the NFL and saw what all in actually was, I realized why I didn't win more games in college. And so I just think if you're going to really try to chase these dreams, follow them. But if you're going to follow them, make sure that you're all in, because in order to be great and to really succeed and to get to this part of your career, you have to be all in every day.
That is great advice, because I've had that same thought about my college career. Like, if I could do it all over again, and this is real, I would have partied less. I had a great time in college. I had more than the occasional beer. I am not going to lie to you. I did. We had a lot of fun in college, my senior class. Looking back on it now, I wish I would have been more all in. Exactly like Patrick Mahomes is saying. I have said some of those, he said it a little bit, better. He called it all in. I said I would have worked harder. I would have worked harder in college when I played at Washburn. I wish I would have done that, but you're young, you're 18 to 22 years old, and my senior, I started to do that a little bit more, because you always want to think, oh, I'm on my own. I'm not at home, because I did. I went to class and all that kind of stuff, but I had a good time in college. He is 100% correct in that situation. You only get so many years to give it your all, and that is exactly right. It really, really is. I thought that was so spot on from Patrick Mahomes there. And this is what I tell the incoming people, or if anybody asks advice, if I go somewhere and talk, because I know Coach Sherg has asked me to speak to the team a time or two. And then Jason Kelsey was asked what he would give advice. And this is like real. They were like real talk. It was not joking around, and it was super serious. And this is what Jason Kelsey said.
I think it's important to test your boundaries, man.
Yep.
Like for me in college, like I thought in high school, I knew what hard work was. And then I got to college and you're like, oh man, like I haven't been working hard at all. Like
those college workouts are they're mental workouts.
College workout I ever had, and I kind of think this is good for like every freshman and really rookies to go through. Like my first workout I ever had, the guy it wasn't even trying to be productive. He's just trying to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Right? And he's at the end of the workout, we did so much upper body. He says, all right, if you can take this Bosu ball, like those big rubber balls,
yep.
If you can take this thing, hold it above your head, it weighs about like 5 pounds maybe, and walk around the whole like gym, which was not that big in Cincinnati at the time. We hadn't built the new one yet. then you don't have to clean up the weight room. I made it like 10 feet.
That's so true. So true. Anyone who's going into college, you were a star high school player. Man, you have no clue. None. And then I obviously never made it to the NFL, but I've got plenty of friends, former teammates who have, and they said it's just another step up. He goes, instead of going to class, instead of studying and doing all that, no, you're in the facility. He goes, you have no idea. If you think you worked hard in high school, man, you are in for a rude awakening because it is 10 times harder in the college world. I thought it was really good stuff. Check out their podcast. It's called New Heights. Really good stuff. Coming up next, Fulton's going to throw out some gems as we go through National Christmas Lights Day for our list. Everyone loves the list. Due to today is National Christmas Lights Day, being December the 1st, we're going to call this the do's and don'ts of Christmas lights. All right?
All right.
All right, hit me with it.
Number 4 for me. This light is perfectly fine to use. I would never pick it, but I am always happy to see it. White corded white lights. Very simple, very nice, very clean.
Okay. All right. Number 4 for me, no multicolored lights. Okay. I'm talking, I don't want blue, red, green, white, orange, purple.
Just a sad opinion.
Like, I don't want all of them.
Just a sad opinion.
I don't like that. It's too busy.
Sad opinion. Number 3, there's several lights my dad puts on the house. Those icicle lights where they come down a little bit, look like icicles.
Cool.
Look very nice. That's my dad has them, so they're very nice. That's my number 3.
Okay.
Use those.
Number 3, for me, same color of lights. I think it looks aesthetically so much better. I prefer blue lights. Blue
lights are good.
Or blue lights or red lights, if you will.
Yeah.
At my house, we use red lights. They're all red lights.
Okay.
Around the house. And then on the bushes and all of that, we use the white lights. So
Okay.
I like some consistency. I just don't like every color everywhere.
It's a very poor opinion coming from Jake because the number 2 best lights you should use when you're making Christmas light decisions are white cord multicolored lights with the small bulbs.
That's too busy, man.
No, it's fantastic. It's festive. And it's beautiful. Have them hanging up in my apartment right now.
They're
glorious.
Okay, any light is festive. I just say it's just too busy. Number 2 for me, you got to throw in some type of, and I'm trying to think of it. You need some type of action.
Okay, a little bit of movement.
You need something,
a little bit of
dynamicness or some
to it.
type of prop, if you will.
Fair enough.
Like we have a Christmas tree that we put out front.
That's nice. Number 1 for me, I would agree though. If you're doing lights, get yourself a prop in the front yard. My dad has deer, light up deer. He likes them.
Number 1 for me, just have lights. Like everyone should have lights. Period. We're gonna hear from Spagnuolo and from EB coming up next. From the Big O Tires text line, too busy, Jake? You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. No, like when I say too busy, it's just a personal feeling. Remember, we preface this like all lights are good lights.
Yes.
All lights are good lights. In fact, everyone should put up Christmas lights. It is not that hard. I will do them hopefully coming up on Sunday before the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping to do. But you should put them up there. It's not that difficult. They cost like $6 at the local, wherever. No, what I mean by too busy is all multicolors to me, with the blue, the red, the green, the white, the orange, the yellow. That's not as appeasing to me. I think what looks better is all the same color, like all blue lights around the trim of your house, and then all white lights on the bushes, red lights on your walkway or your driveway leading in. You know what I mean? Like, I am not a Grinch. Like, I like Christmas and the holidays. I think it's a lot of fun.
It just has to, start with Thanksgiving.
Yes, exactly. Like, lights are great. Now, I try to draw the line. I think one Christmas tree is fine.
I agree.
We've got 4 in my house.
So I see you're losing your battle.
It's not really a battle. Like, it is. I mean, 4 is a lot. I will say this: my son loves it. My son loves it, and this is kind of the first year since he's 2.5 now. We decorated we put up the tree, and we decorated the house and all that kind of stuff. And this was when he was sleeping, and he woke up and he came out and he just goes, "Oh, Mom, Dad, our house is so pretty." And I was
It's not pretty all the time, son.
No, it's definitely not, because we don't have like my wife loves it. I mean, if it was socially acceptable, she would start decorating October 1st. She loves it.
I just want to say the boundaries of social acceptability are what you set them to be. When it comes to Christmas, not everything. Lord, not everything.
So I am not that. I just want to make that clear.
Yes.
I am pro lights. Even if you've got just one thing out there, do it.
It's nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Right now, though, we are going to hear from the coordinators of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo coming up here in a little bit, but the OC, Eric Bieniemy, here's what he had to say.
Coach, yesterday Mahomes talked about, last year against the Bengals that his mechanics kind of fell off, and that's kind of led to the demise. How much did you see in that game, and how did that affect the offense as a whole?
You know what? I think as a whole, for whatever reason, we just didn't finish the game the right way. There's a number of things that took place either in that first game or that second game. And I told our guys earlier in the week, we can't get caught up in the emotions of what took place as far as how the game went. It's all about making sure that we understand that we utilize those two games as a learning lesson moving forward, because there's a lot of things that we know that we could have did much better that we got to continue to work on. So these guys are focused, they're locked in, but also they understand the importance of cleaning up the mistakes, because this is a good team who's getting healthy at the right time, and we got to make sure that we're on point as well.
Aaron, just the way that last season ended, was there any worry that loss would linger into this year?
Not at all. I mean, the thing about it, each year takes on its own different journey, and for whatever reason, that journey came to an abrupt end at that particular moment. So what do? You go back, you evaluate, you take a look at all the good, you take a look at the bad, and then you continue moving forward. But now the thing that happened last year, it happened for a reason. It's a lesson. It's something that springs you forward. If you look at the way our guys have played, our guys have not even focused on what has taken place in the past. Their job is to make sure that they're focusing on the now and living in the moment, because the only thing that matters, it's where we are right now and what we need to do in order to help us to accomplish the goal this weekend.
I understand it played out that way, but were there early signs that told you that wasn't going to be a concern for you? And I guess if so, when did those arrive?
It hasn't been an issue at all. The thing is, you win games and you lose games in this industry. And if you're around long enough, you're going to lose some games. I remember losing against Notre Dame in 1990 or 90. We lost that one. But what did that game do? It helped us to focus, to move forward. And so that's all you want to continue to do. You want to continue moving forward and understanding that things happen for a reason, and you have to utilize those life lessons to help you spring forward.
When it was the final game last year, and we've heard Chris talk about it a little bit, we heard Patrick talk about it. Personally, for you, I mean, how long did you chew on the last game of the year?
You can only chew on it for so long. I mean, you watch it, you get through it, and then you move on. You have to, because the thing is, you can't allow certain things to have an impact on your whole entire life. There's a lot of things that you can do to help you, you know what I mean? But you never want to just live off of negative experiences. You want to continue to make sure that you're utilizing those experiences to help you to grow and help you moving forward and educate you in as many ways as you can. And so I think the best thing about it is just understanding why it happened, but also understanding that in order to have that opportunity to happen again, there's some things that we can do a lot better.
Isaiah's done a nice job, as the season's going on, but we're about to that rookie wall time. Are you seeing? We see everything that happens on the field. Are you seeing everything you want to see off the field, the meeting room at this time of year? Is the rookie wall a real thing sometimes for guys?
The rookie wall is a real thing. I know I hit it my rookie year, okay? But it doesn't seem to impact him. I mean, obviously, all the energy that you see after a play, he does the same thing in practice. The kid's very energized and excited about meetings. He does a good job in the walkthroughs. We got to slow him down at times. And then when he has to practice, he has a bunch of energy. I want what he has bottled up so I can help lose some of this damn weight moving forward. But he's a heck of a kid. And I knock on wood, I hope the rookie wall does not hit him. He seems to be in a great place right now, mentally as well as physically. And I will add to that, he got some great guys in that room that have helped him to understand what it takes to become a professional at this level and how to take care of his body. Greg Lewis, obviously being a former player, okay, now being his coach. Jared McKinnon, okay, Clyde. I mean, there's a lot of guys with a lot of experience in that room that have helped him to understand what it takes and how to survive, throughout the course of the season.
Patrick said yesterday that
Experiencing some technical difficulties with Eric Bieniemy's audio playing earlier today. Isn't technology fun, folks? Isn't it just a fantastically great time when nothing wants to work for you? Because that happens to us more often than we'd care to admit, because technology isn't, it isn't perfect. It's not the greatest thing we could ever create or invest in or all these different things. So give us just one moment here and we will get Eric Bieniemy back up and running here on mic'd up as we sort out the technology gremlins, so to speak, and work on getting EB and his audio back up and running. So give me just one moment here and we'll get you back to where we were. So here is where we will pick back up where we left off. Eric Bieniemy being talked to earlier today. Get right back to hearing from the Chiefs offensive coordinator.
He's done a nice job, as the season's going on. But we're about to that rookie wall time. Are you seeing? We see everything that happens on the field. Are you seeing everything you want to see off the field, the meeting room at this time of year? Is the rookie wall a real thing sometimes for guys?
The rookie wall is a real thing. I know I hit it in my rookie year, okay? But it doesn't seem to impact him. I mean, obviously, all the energy that you see after a play, he does the same thing in practice. The kid's very energized and excited about meetings. He does a good job in the walkthroughs. We got to slow him down at times. And then when he heads to practice, he has a bunch of energy. I want what he has bottled up so I can help lose some of this damn weight moving forward. But he's a heck of a kid. And I knock on wood, I hope the rookie wall does not hit him. He seems to be in a great place right now, mentally as well as physically. And I will add to that, he got some great guys in that room that have helped him to understand what it takes to become a professional at this level and how to take care of his body. Greg Lewis, obviously being a former player, okay, now being this coach. Jerick McKinnon, okay, Clyde. I mean, there's a lot of guys with a lot of experience in that room that have helped him to understand what it takes and how to survive, throughout the course of the season.
And that is what offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy had to say earlier in the day. What about the defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo? Here's what Spags had to say when he spoke to the media earlier today.
There's also been some talk this week about Joe Cullen and its impact on the defensive line room.
Yeah.
I guess you can talk about that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
What has he brought to the table?
Now, listen, I've known Joe a long time. I think we talked about this. We go way back. We're both from the Boston area, New England, talk the same. If you talk to Joe, he has the same kind of accent. I don't know whose is worse. He's been out of that area for a long time, too. I never lost mine. But Joe's been great, along with Terry Braden, assists Joe. And I think between both those guys and how the players have responded to him, every coach that comes in and coaches a unit brings a different flair. Nobody does it the exact same way. And so I'm glad that the big guys have responded to it. And hopefully we can keep cranking away and playing good football.
Has it led to more mismatches along the line, and maybe that's why you guys are you've exceeded the sack total already with 6 games to play.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious about why do you think that is?
Well, Chris is having a heck of a year, number one. And you're talking about the sacks. If I'm not mistaken, early in the year, a lot of the sacks were from linebackers, DBs, so I would credit all of those guys for that. But we're talking about the D-line and Joe's impact and Terry's, and I think that's valid. When we've had 4-man rushes and the way they pass rushes, 80% want, in my opinion. And when those guys want to get there, and with these quarterbacks that can get in and out of trouble, we're facing another one that is, I think, one of the best at everything, including his scrambling ability. He did it to us at Cincinnati last year, had a couple here, 3 key third downs he scrambled for and got them. We got to have our best game with that group, certainly.
Steve, you moved L'Jarius outside a couple of weeks ago in LA. Can you go into the thinking of why that was?
Yeah, I got to go back to that game plan. I think Mike Williams was playing at the time. It was a little bit of a matchup thing. A little different with this team because you got 3 of them. I only have 1 LJ. Yeah, you can't get. But that's what that thinking was. And then he tweaked that ankle and was out of the game again. I think we got back to normal, right?
How valuable has he been? I mean, not just over the past 4 years, but specifically this year, it seems like he's taken even another step forward.
Yeah, listen, LJ to me is one of our premier players. I mean, we talk a lot about Chris, we talk about Nick, but LJ, you throw him right in there. We got one at every level that's playing extremely well, and LJ is certainly one of those guys. He's so versatile. You know, you move him inside, move him out. We've had him back at safety in years past here, so we're glad we got him.
Coach, you were just talking about Joe Burrow, saying that he's the biggest threat in your opinion would probably be the fact that his scrambling ability.
Well, I'm talking about the whole package. But when we were talking about the D line, you know, I just factor in that we're dealing with another quarterback that can get. We don't have. It's not a statue. I mean, he's big and he's strong and he can throw the football, but it's not a statue by any means. He has a unique ability. What did Joe say? Whether it was slither away or he's sneaky or whatever, and he's really good at protecting the football. This is one of the teams that have fewest turnovers or fumbles in the NFL, and he's one of the reasons because he's really smart in the pocket with the football and how he maneuvers.
There were some big plays that they got you guys on up in Cincinnati last
Yeah.
year. A whole bunch of new different players in your defensive backfield.
Yeah.
What has been the difference this year for you guys not maybe giving up as many of those really explosive plays for touchdowns?
Yeah, well, I think Dave and Donald do a good job back there with those guys. We've been cognizant of that. We talk about explosive passes every week. Last week was one of the first a few games where we did not have a pass play over 20. I think we had a couple other games like that. That makes a huge difference because let's face it, offenses, right? Every offense in this league is going to prey upon explosive passes. It gets them going, right? Flips field position. So when we can eliminate that, that's a good thing. I mean, our guys are playing with good technique. You know, we've had certain coverages to eliminate that. There was a play in the game last week where it was evident that they were taking a shot, and we took it away. Now, the quarterback found the back, and it ended up being a 15-yard gain because we had taken away all the deep guys. So, but we'd like to keep doing that because I believe if you make the team drive the field, that somewhere along the way you can make a play.
Given the success that the Bengals did have last year against you in those games, how big of a kind of measuring stick is it for these young players that you've got going up against those guys?
I haven't talked about it yet, but I plan to on Saturday night. I mean, this is a real test to find out where we're at. Just don't want to be getting tested at a time when it's really important that we win the game, right? So hopefully the prior is this game 11 or 12? 11, right? 12. Hopefully with the other 11 games we've played, it's prepared us for this. We'll find out on Sunday. I think, the young guys that we've had back there, I think have grown pretty quickly. Trent having not played a lot of games to this point, but I don't see him bat an eyelash on the sideline. Josh certainly hasn't. I mean, Jalen's dealing with that hand right now. And I thought Brian Cook did a nice job going in for Warren last week. We talk about, you'd think they would have attacked, there's a rookie back there and the whole thing, but he was solid. And probably when you don't hear a lot about a safety after a game, that's a good thing because of the position he plays.
Coach, I know you get a lot of numbers and everything put in front of you. There was a number in the story today about you guys have like the worst QBR, one of the new ratings when you don't get to the quarterback. Now, it said you get to and pressure the quarterback a lot, so it minimizes that. But is that something you do, whether it's that stat or some other stat? Do you have something you look at and can you be too reliant on a pass rush?
I don't think you could ever be too reliant on it because, I think it goes hand in hand, right? The pass rush and the coverage. But the QBR, we get that, right? To me, the thing from our standpoint, that affects the QBR rating the best is to intercept the football because that's when the QBR rating comes down. We haven't had a lot of those. We got to find our way to – but I don't remember – you guys can help me. I don't remember that we've dropped a lot. Maybe there's LJ, I think, had one. In a game. I'm just going overall the whole year, but I think we can bring the QBR rating down if we pick a few balls off. But that's tight coverage and doing some things a little bit better and maybe confidence. You got young guys and they're more worried about just covering and not going to get the ball. So if we can start attacking the ball, LJ got one last week and Nick got one off for a tip ball. So I'm not really sure how to.
Steve, the versatility of having Chris go from inside to outside and then Mike Dana going outside to inside, just how much do you think that has played to the success of the last few weeks?
Listen, we've always liked to move Chris around. Some of that's over on the sideline, and Chris, where do you want to go this next time? And he tries to find somebody. And listen, when you're an O-line preparing during the week, if he's in that same spot, right, that particular O-lineman prepares to go against him, watches, when you move, they all have to do it, and you're not sure where he's going to be. So we try to do that as much as we can. But part of what you said there, Nate, I don't think should be overlooked. The fact that Mike can do what he does is huge. Because if you didn't have that, you might have to keep Chris in a certain spot. So the versatility of both those guys is helpful.
That is what Steve Spagnuolo had to say to the media today. As we gear up tomorrow, we'll get the final injury report for the Kansas City Chiefs, which shouldn't be too bad. Juju back at practice. That is great to see. Of course, no McCole Hardman, no Kadarius Toney, but everyone else kind of healthy for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we will get to the injury report. Same thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm assuming Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase are going to play. And, man, the Bengals, you can see that. And we're going to talk more Bengals tomorrow as the Reed comment on locking up. I think he meant Hayden Hurst.
He did.
But there's been a lot of comments on that right now. There's been a lot of back and forth. This is going to be a fun one. Coming up, we will get to some college football playoff news and K-State. They were due for a stinker. We'll get to that next. final hour of Mic'd Up on this Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Lamont along with Fulton Caster. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429 outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let us know on Twitter at SportsOn580 and on our YouTube page, Sports On 580. Very simple. YouTube.com, search Sports On 580. We will get to the game last night between K-State and Butler from Hinkle Fieldhouse. We'll talk more of the Kansas City Chiefs this game as opposed to last year. We'll get into some of the numbers and some of the key players from last year to this year. But today, it was announced that the college football playoff is going to 12 teams and that the Rose Bowl is now on board. The fact that the Rose Bowl was like, no, we're not going to be a part of that. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Shows you what the Rose Bowl thinks of themselves. But did they think the Pac-12 and the Big Ten winners were going to go to the Rose Bowl and not the 4-team college football playoff? I never understood that. I'm not a Big Ten or Pac-12 guy, but they love the, Pac-12, Big Ten type of rivalry type deal. But they're on board now, and it's official, 12 teams. I think 12 is too many. That is my personal belief. I think 12 is too many. I can be talked to 8, and I can be talked into 6. It's hard for me to see 12 teams playing and being good enough to win a national championship. It just is for me. If you look at the college football playoff rankings, I think K-State's a good football team. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if K-State is capable of winning the college football playoff. Like Penn State, Clemson, Utah, and like Washington. If you just go top 12 teams, right? I know that's not how they're going to do it. Like Washington is not going to win a championship. Utah isn't. Clemson isn't. Penn State isn't. Tennessee. This is a fun little interesting aspect we can talk about. Tennessee doesn't have their best player. Hendon Hooker not playing. Quarterback, Tennessee. They went 10-2. Right now, Tennessee is maybe a top 15 team because they don't have their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that fair to Tennessee? We can have that debate. Like, to me, there's only about 6 teams who really probably can win it all. Like, do I think Alabama could win it all? Yeah, I think their defense is a little underwhelming this year, but they've lost 2 games by a combined 3 points. They lost on a field goal and then a 2-point conversion.
Mm.
All right. That's why, to me, 12 is a lot. It does give the punchers chance for the group of 5.
Yeah.
But you can do that with 8 teams. I think 8 teams, and I could even argue 6 teams. Seeds 1 and seeds 2 get a bye. It's important to get that bye. We know how important that is in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, why are we trying to be ahead of the Buffalo Bills, right? So if you have a 16 playoff, I mean, it honestly is pretty simple. TCU faces Alabama. Southern Cal faces Ohio State. Winner of TCU Alabama faces Michigan. Winner of Southern Cal Ohio State faces Georgia. Am I going to be crying for 7 seed Tennessee, 8 seed Penn State, 9 seed Clemson? No. At some point in time, you got to draw the line. Can I see this? Can I see Georgia facing Tulane? Can I see Michigan facing Alabama? You know what I mean? Like, can I see an 8-team playoff? Like, I can see the benefits of 6 teams. I can see the benefits of 8 teams. I think the benefits of 6 and 8 do keep the regular season much more meaningful. We talked with Paul Myerberg in the 2 o'clock or the 12 o'clock hour. He says with a 12-team playoff, it does lose a little bit of the regular season sexiness. Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
Both of them are in if it is a 12-team playoff easily. Both of them are in if it's an 8-team playoff, because what you do, to me, 8-team playoff, 5 conference champs, pretty simple. Group of 5 best team.
And 2 at-large.
And then 2 at-larges. And more than likely,
Ohio State would get one of those at-larges.
Ohio State and Alabama would get the 2 at-larges. That is why I would go that route, because that game still would mean something in Ohio State, Michigan.
At this point, it would matter less about who gets into the playoff, more about who gets the chance to get the bye.
And
that's its weight.
And seeding purposes, which I do think is important.
That's its weight.
And so, but if it's when it's a 12 team, that game is now just really about, do you get a bye or not? That's it. Because if they're both undefeated, you're going to make the playoff.
Yeah, you both are getting in.
Where if it's an 8-team or 6-team playoff, then that game still means something. Yeah. So and title games still mean something. Title games now do not mean pretty much anything except for it can probably hurt you.
Yeah.
Right now, when I say can hurt you, I mean it's a double-edged sword. You know, this goes back to the Big 12. Should we have a title game or not? It gets us another data point, but it also can hurt us. In a 12-team playoff right now, K-State's in. K-State's in. They're the 10 seed. Okay? If they lose to TCU, they're out. They're not going to make it. They're going to fall out of the top 10. They'll probably fall to 15 and won't make the playoff. Same situation, but a little differently in the Pac-12. Utah's not in. But if Utah beats USC, they get the auto bid. USC's in. So it can be a double way when it comes to the championship. The championship games right now, as we talked about, don't really mean a ton. Michigan's in no matter what, so the Big Ten title game doesn't mean anything. Georgia is in no matter what. Big Ten title game doesn't mean anything. TCU, I don't think they're in. I think they will go with Ohio State. I do. I think that is wrong, and I hope that I am wrong. But I think they're going to say this because every metric kind of matters. TCU's best win will be K-State. K-State, honestly, if K-State wins this game, K-State might move up to number 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would have beaten the number 8 team in the country. That's a good win. You've beaten a whole bunch of other bowl eligible teams. Ohio State's best win right now, that's Penn State.
Yep.
So Penn State's best win is 8th. They're ranked 8th right now. After Penn State, Ohio State's best win is who?
No one.
Notre Dame?
No one.
Well, it would be Notre Dame, who's 8-4. So to me, Texas is above them. If you are looking at the record for Ohio State and you look at the record for TCU. I think TCU should go in. If they both have one loss, TCU will have faced much better competition, and they beat the team that they would have lost to.
And I'll say this too: who has more wins? If it comes down to TCU and Ohio State, if TCU loses, who has won more games?
Well, TCU. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I am with you.
I know you're on board with me, and that's what you come down to.
It should
Ohio State should not get bonus points because they lost to Michigan and have to sit at home this weekend.
Yeah, and they don't face the top 10 team.
Yeah.
And they don't face the top 10 team.
No. TCU should not get penalized for losing to a top 10 team.
That is
and
the
a championship game at a neutral site.
That is the problem. So, but you and I both know.
Oh, we both know very well.
There's I'm not saying
it's a bias.
It's a good chance, but I'm saying it ain't like winning the Powerball. All right.
No.
It's not, me throwing a dart at a dartboard.
It is completely believable that the committee would use TCU not being a conference champion to put Ohio State in because their logic then goes to, well, they're both not conference champions, and Ohio State played in a better conference.
Well, they didn't. Not this year.
To the committee, they played in a
yeah.
better conference when in reality, by all metrics, the Big Ten has like 4 good teams and the rest are absolute garbage cans.
No, they have 3 good teams and everybody else sucks. They have 3 good teams. Nobody on the West is good.
No.
Purdue is made it there. Purdue.
And if Purdue had won their last game, it would have been Iowa. To show you how bad the Big Ten West is.
That's why I look at with a 12-team play. I think 12 is too many. I do. Just like I think the NCAA basketball tournament, 96 is too many. I think not everyone gets a seat at the table in this situation.
Here's what I'll say, and this is what it was done to me in expansion. How many teams, and I'll ask you, we've kind of taught this bit, Jake, but let's narrow this down. How many teams do you think on a year-to-year basis, what is the most amount of teams you think conceivably can win the title?
I think 5 to 6.
Okay. Then I could live with capping it at 6. There is no logical reason to expand a playoff beyond 6 teams in college football outside of money. And here's what I'll say, because this isn't an argument I hear thrown around a ton when it comes to expansion of playoffs for both college football and college basketball. It's always like, well, a deserving team got left out. Well, there was 2 guys on the fences, and this team got in, and this team did. Boo-hoo. Go cry to your mama. I don't care. Every time you expand, there's always going to be someone on the fringe who wants in. And you know what my proof of this is? The NCAA tournament with 68 teams. There are people whining and crying because they were 69th and not 68th. And which they deserve to get in over 68th and 69. And that's why we need to go to 96.
And they went,
which is a bunch of baloney.
And which they went 17 and 12.
Yeah, it's like, because even at 4 here this year, keeping it at 4. Let's say it comes down to, let's say Ohio State doesn't get it. They don't get it. And you have Ohio State fans who look at USC and look at TCU. Even if TCU goes 13-0, especially if TCU goes 12-1 without a Big 12 championship to their record, you're going to have Ohio State fans out the woodwork going, we should be in there with TCU. We should be in there with TCU. Well, guess what, Ohio State fans? Go blow it out your you-know-what. You want to be in the playoff right now? Go beat Michigan. Don't lose by 20 points to Michigan at home.
Yeah.
How about that?
TCU did that. TCU beat their tough
TCU
team.
did that.
Yeah.
TCU won their regular season perfectly at 12-0.
The reason I say there are 5 to 6 teams,
and I'm willing to hear 5 to 6.
And my argument is this: the very first year of the playoff, TCU should have gotten it.
Yes,
over Ohio State,
who won the title. So
we're talking about the 5th team. If I would not have put Ohio State in. I wouldn't have.
I would have put TCU as well. I remember back to that moment. I would have put TCU.
So that tells me that the 5th best team that year won the championship. That's why I do want to expand, and I want to expand to 6 or 8. Now I know why, because it's all money. It is all money. Money is the reason why Nebraska's not in the Big 12, why Colorado's not in the Big 12, why Missouri's not in the Big 12.
Yeah, they want to go chase dollar signs.
A&M's not in the Big 12 because of a few reasons. One, because they hate Texas, and getting away from Texas was a positive. And then also money. The only reason we are at 12 teams in the discussion
It's money.
Is money. And
That's
not and not 6 or 8.
Yeah, because you get more money with 12.
The 12 team next year, or not next year, but the year after that, as I said, the title games of the 5 big title games, half of them will not matter. Just like this year, half of them next year at this point in time, let's say that's a 12-team playoff, right?
Mm.
The conference championship games this year, if there was a 12-team playoff, has honestly 4 teams that matter. It is K-State, it is Utah, it is Clemson, it is North Carolina. And the reason I say that is LSU technically, and so does Purdue, but they're not going to win. No. I mean, I don't think they are. But Clemson, North Carolina, that's a toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
K-State, TCU. We already knew that TCU with the 12-team playoff is in. USC with the 12-team playoff is in. So it doesn't. Those games they don't matter as much. And so that makes it a little bit less exciting. Every year is going to be different, whereas last year, it would have been huge for the Big 12 because the winner of Oklahoma State Baylor goes to the playoff.
Yeah, they would have.
That was huge for that game. So some years it matters, some years it won't, but it makes some of the regular season a little bit less exciting, and we all agree the most exciting regular season in sports is college football.
Yeah.
The NFL, we've already talked about it. The NFL regular season is a means to an end for the good teams. The Chiefs, the regular season, it only matters if you get the 1 seed, but other than that, just get healthy for the playoff. We have seen that. In the NBA, nobody gives a care about the NBA regular season. Same thing for baseball. Doesn't matter. And as we found out this year, it really doesn't matter. Half the teams lost in the first round who were the higher seed. So that is college basketball laughable because their postseason is so monstrous. It's just get in. It's kind of the same thing like the NFL. Get yourself in a good spot.
Get in, get a good spot, and cause chaos.
Which is why college football's regular season, Michigan and Ohio State, the loser of that game
went home. Basically.
It's not going to make the
playoff. And here's my thing. And I know when you get the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in. Playoffs are better the more selective they are. The more of the higher percentage of your competing teams in your entire organization that can go to the playoff, the less your regular season matters. Like, the reason why there's still a little bit of mattering in college basketball's regular season to a tiny extent is because while they do have 68 teams, there's a billion college basketball programs.
Yeah, you go to 96.
Yeah, and that's why I hate it.
It places even more emphasis on
the NFL. Their playoffs got worse the moment they added the 7 seeds.
Yeah, look at the last 2 games last year.
Yeah, they sucked.
Chiefs
they
versus
diluted
Steelers.
their product.
Yeah, it was bad.
Baseball, their playoffs are going to get worse because they diluted their product. Now, granted, yes, I know the Phillies, a team that wouldn't have gotten in last year, made the playoffs, and that's awesome for them. I love Bryce Harper. I'm glad he got a chance to play for a World Series. Play better in the regular season if you want to go to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's my thing with college football. If you're an Ohio State fan who wants to complain that you didn't get in, my answer is simple. Go win your regular season game. Go beat Michigan at home. Or a game you were favored in by 7.5 points.
Since it's a selection committee, don't get blown out either.
Yeah, don't lose by 20.
Yeah. So,
had the rules been reversed, and Michigan had lost, and Michigan wanted to get in. You know what I tell Michigan? 1, go beat Ohio State. 2, don't schedule cupcakes for your non-conference. There are ways to get in, and my perfect world, honestly, is 6 teams, and it's done this specific 2 ways. There are 2 ways. I'd be cool with it. It's only one of these 2 ways. Every spot in the 16 playoff is a bid based on winning your conference title game, and it's your 5 Power 5 conference title winners and the best conference title winner in the G5. But you got to win your conference title game. Or
that makes it more exciting on the conference title.
It's this. Yeah. It's the best regular season record amongst your 5 Power 5 teams and your best regular season G5 team. Because in both those ways, your regular season matters in some way. In the first example, it matters because you got to play one for the season to go play that title game. And then you got one shot to do it. Or you do regular season, then it's be better all year than every other team in your conference, and you go in.
And that's the other thing, too, is we hear all this about player safety, right? Well, if we're doing player safety, why are we adding
it's a joke.
Another NFL game, right? Instead, well, in the NFL, it's a little different because they do play the game. They're just taking away a preseason game and making it a real game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is some difference there because not all of the starters play in the preseason.
And no one plays this hard in the preseason.
But they're still playing the game.
They're still playing the game. You're not adding an extra thing to the schedule. You're shifting.
Yeah, the college aspect of it. Like they should honestly get rid of the title games.
If you're going to go to 12, get rid of the title games. Seriously.
Like you
don't add a game to the schedule.
Yeah. Do what they do. Award a regular season.
Yeah. Because then regular season matters. Truly, it does.
Yeah.
Get rid of divisions. Because the Big Ten shouldn't have divisions. You know what?
No school, no conference should have divisions.
Shouldn't. But you know what? Big Ten can make your life better right now if you didn't have divisions. You get a second Ohio State-Michigan matchup. You know how many more people would watch the Big Ten title game if it was Ohio State-Michigan in a rematch a week after Ohio State got blown out and embarrassed on their own field?
To me, if there's 12 teams, and this is if you're keeping the title game.
Yes.
If you're going to 12 games or 12 teams, you're adding a few more games.
Yeah.
And you don't really need the Big 12 you don't really need the title games, but they're never going to give those away because they make money off of them.
Hand over fist.
So that's the reason why. And that they should get rid of them because, as we've said, the only thing that matters, I can tell you right now, the two best teams in the Big 12 are K-State and they are TCU.
I don't need another game to prove me that.
The third best team is Texas. And the best team in the Big 12 through 9 games was TCU.
Yeah.
They were the best.
Yes.
So that's the reason why you don't really need title games if you go to 12 teams, because you're still going to get, this is how much money is enough money, $450 million a year more with the 12-team playoff. That's $500 million basically per year. You're going to get more. Like, do you really need that extra $5 million or $6 million for the title? I don't know how much the Big 12 title game generates.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the bowl games are not what they used to be.
No,
bowl games are not. And that's just the way it has worked. Even with the BCS Bowl, if K-State plays Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, what are the odds that Bryce Young even plays in that game? What are the odds that,
not great.
Some of these guys play in the game? I don't know if it's very good.
Yeah.
And so bowl games have lost their luster. They really have. And with 12 teams, they're going to try to keep the bowls alive. Now, do I think bowl games are important? Yes, I do. But it's not the same as it once was. And so I want the first round and the second round, the first round and the quarterfinals at home sites.
So do I.
Then you can use, like we do now, the semifinals at one spot. Use the Sugar Bowl, use the Peach Bowl, use the Rose Bowl, use the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, and then you play your final somewhere.
But you need to have the first 2 rounds at home sites. And they have left the door open for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not fair to me that, Alabama gets a home game in the round of 12, and then they play Michigan, and Michigan doesn't get a home game.
Yeah, I agree.
But because, and you know this, because we have so many buddies, because all the people, the ADs and the commissioners,
money's in bed with money,
want to make their bowl buddies who they go golfing with happy.
Yeah, so that way that bowl buddy keeps paying them money to get them more nice things.
That's the reason why. There's no other reason. Because you're doing it right now. You're doing it as we speak, right this instant. You can just do the semifinal games at neutral sites and then the championship game at its own destination.
Yeah.
You're doing it now. There's no reason you can't do home sites. Who wouldn't want to see Alabama take on K-State at Bryant-Denny in a round of 12 matchup? Or Tulane taking on Michigan at the Big House? That would be awesome.
It'd be great.
Instead, it's going to be at the Big Bad Mowers Bowl in Orlando. Lame.
It'll be less, and this is the last thing I'll say on the bowl specifically. We talk about how bowls have been watered down and people care less. In college football, you only have yourself to blame for that.
Oh, yeah, it's because of the
minute the playoff got created and everything became about make it to the playoff, make it to the playoff, make it to the playoff, you diminished the value of the bowls. You did this to yourself.
Well, I think they needed a playoff because determining a champion via, determining a champion on the polls is asinine. Having a split championship to me, because when was it? It was the last split champion was Michigan and was it Nebraska?
I
want to say
we're going well before my time at this point.
You know, this was
not before my time, but before my brain was really paying attention and be able to retain this memory.
I want to say it was in 96.
Okay, yeah, we're going right at the beginning of my time. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. It was Michigan.
Yeah.
And
I was just born.
It was Michigan and Nebraska.
I think there needs to be a game to decide a champion, and there's ways to do this, but the overarching point is simply, if anyone wants to complain that players no longer care about the lower level bowls and all the stuff like that, and guys are sitting out games because it's not the championship game. One, listen, if a guy wants to retain his health to go make money for his NFL future, that's on him. Credit to you. I respect it. Go do you. Go get your bag, kid. But they only lost their importance because everyone in college football made everything about the playoff and the championship. They took away the luster and the importance of just going to a bowl, being a bowl team. Now that matters to some teams still, like Kansas. Kansas fans are going crazy on a bowl game because of the length it's been since being there. But teams that go constantly, they've lost bits of that because you've made it only about winning a championship.
I am for an 8 or 16 playoff, but 12 to me,
it's too much. Max for me is 6. There's only 6 teams every year that could maybe win a title. I don't need teams that can't win it being in there.
And maybe things will change.
It won't.
Maybe I'll feel differently, but that's how I look at it right now. Coming up next, K-State on the hardwood. It was coming. I just didn't think it would be last night. We'll get to that next. Butler last night. And that the loss is surprising because I didn't think they'd lose to Butler, but the way the game went is not surprising at all. Kansas State's hoops team is very simple to diagnose. Same thing for the Kansas Jayhawk men's team. K-State's offense is going to be streaky.
Oh, yeah.
It will. That's because they've got one guy who is a bona fide dude. Okay. First of all, the best story in all of sports right now is Keontae Johnson. And it's happening right here in our backyard. The guy literally almost died. Like collapsed and almost died on the court. 2 years later, he's like an All-American right now. Like he's been awesome. He can score. But the other guys right now are so up and down. And I'm including Marquise Noel. He can be awesome. LSU, Nevada. He can be what he was last night, 5 of 15 shooting. And you can't have Marquise Noel go 5 of 15 when your top 4 guys who play go 0 of 5, 1 of 5, 1 of 7, 1 of 3. 5 guys on the K-State team, Tomlin, Masood, Carter, Green, and Marquise Noel went a combined 8 of 35 shooting. That's 22%. You can't do that. But here's the thing. They're going to do that this year. That is K-State's. That's their team. They can get hot, as we saw against Nevada. They can make a comeback, as we saw against LSU. But this team offensively is going to be up and down. The biggest surprise is that this team should be very good defensively because they have got athletes everywhere. Tomlin is 6'10", Masood is 6'8", Green, Noel, Keontae Johnson, Sills. This should be a good defensive team. Butler shot 55% from the field and out-rebounded Kansas State. Butler should never shoot 55% from the field and out-rebound Kansas State in a game. They shouldn't. Like, that was the surprise, is K-State's defense allowed a team to shoot 55% from the field. I mean, they went 55% and 40% from deep. You can't do that if you're Kansas State. And this is a game that was going to happen for Kansas State. You know, I'm surprised it happened against Butler and not against like LSU. You know, like they're not going to lose to Incarnate Word or Abilene Christian because those are bad basketball teams. You know, and I would have thought one game the reason they lost would and K-State got it to within 5, but they really weren't in this game. They really weren't. In order for Kansas State to win games where they struggle offensively, They gotta win games like they did against LSU, 61-59. You know, because their offense is just too streaky at this point in time. But you can't get out rebounded to Butler. You can't let them shoot 50. No one should ever shoot 55% from the field. Ever. You're not the NBA. NBA dudes can shoot it with a hand in their face, guarded, and all that kind of stuff. Butler ain't got any NBA dudes. I'm sorry. They don't. But if I ever told you K-State's going to start 6-1 to start the year, getting ready to take on Wichita State, you'd say, hell yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. I mean, you would. You would take it. Easily. So, if they're not doom or gloom for the Jayhawks, or for the Cats, KU played. I mean, they didn't play UTRGVTS.
The joke is back for those of you that like it.
They didn't play, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley of Southern Texas.
No, they just played Texas Southern.
They played Texas Southern.
Beat the snot out of them.
Without
Kevin McCullough.
Where's Texas Southern located?
I could not tell you. Somewhere in southern Texas.
Houston.
Nah.
How many? They got a lot of universities.
Yeah, probably. It's a big city.
Rice. Houston.
KU plays a real team tonight, kind of.
Seton Hall.
And the Pirates of Seton Hall.
Yeah.
I say kind of because they're from a real conference, but they're not a great team.
Seton Hall, 57th, according to the rankings.
Okay, 57th in good old KenPom.
They're 4-3. Jayhawks fell. They fell all the way to 17 with the loss. And they got smoked by Tennessee.
It didn't go well.
Man, Tennessee is long, man.
Yeah.
But just to let you know, who is Tennessee coached by?
Still by Rick Barnes, right?
Yeah. So therefore, they're not going to do anything in the tournament.
Yeah. When you asked, I was like, hold on, did that change it? No. I didn't know where the joke is coming from.
Nope. They won't do anything in the tournament because it's Rick Barnes.
Yeah, probably.
Just note that.
Now, KU in that game showed their offense was a little stale. They definitely still need to figure out this big man problem. And if you don't have Dwan Harris, that offense can't do anything.
Yeah.
So Dwan Harris, please never foul out again. Because, man, does that team not know what to do.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do jack without Dwan on the floor. But Kevin McCullough's supposedly going to try and give it a go tonight for the Jayhawks after missing one game.
Coming up next, we'll get to a little Chiefs news, and then we'll wrap things up here on Mic'd Up. another spicy one today. Germany beating Costa Rica 3-2. But Germany needs Spain to score another goal and tie Japan if they want to advance. There was a moment today that Germany and Spain were both out.
Yeah.
When Costa Rica was leading. Now, Germany just scored another goal, but it doesn't really matter. As long as they just win, they need Spain to score a goal.
Yeah, they need the Spain-Japan game to end in either a Spanish victory or a draw.
Yeah.
Because Germany with the win will only get to 4 points. They need Japan to be sitting at 4 points. And Germany came out at some officials for being stupid.
Yeah,
I've watched the video 3 times on my computer over here during the break. Japan's second goal should not have counted. The entirety, so not deep inside soccer here, but for a ball to be out of to be called out and be fully over the touch line, the whole ball has to cross. If part of it's touching the white, it's
okay.
still in.
Yeah.
It's
like tennis.
Honestly, yes.
It's like tennis.
It is barely. But if you watch the ball just before a Japanese player brings it back in, crosses fully and completely past the touchline. It is close. But the officials missed that a ball was out of play when it was brought back in and then scored by Japan immediately. Like, the Japanese player kicks it back into to his teammate, who then scores immediately. Like,
oh yeah,
that is a blatant miss.
Yeah,
it is close.
It's not close. I could see it going.
But I see all
speed.
green over the touchline on that ball.
On full speed.
That's out.
On full speed.
That's out.
Yeah.
Like, that is, and that miss right there is going to keep Germany out. If no other goal is scored by Japan in this game, and likely it won't, then arguably Germany just got, now, the old adage still does apply, don't leave it up to, this kind of a decision to be why you get to move on. Win your other match. Beat Japan. Japan beat you. Beat Japan. But Japan might get to go through because referees missed a blatant ball being out of play.
Oh, yeah. It easily. I saw
should
that
have been
at
a goal.
speed.
Should have been a goal or a corner. I don't know who knocked it at that position point. I paid attention, but that should have been a goal or a corner, goal kick or a corner kick. But what that tells you, folks, bad officiating exists everywhere in every country.
Yeah.
Because that's a oof of a miss.
Yeah. So Belgium is out.
Belgium's Morocco won that group.
Belgium, who's like the 4th ranked team,
second according to FIFA entering this World Cup.
Yeah, they're
second best team in the world.
Vegas had them, I think, as 5th.
Probably their odds to win, but according to FIFA's official team rankings,
FIFA's Schmifa.
That's fair, but they were second. Number 2 team in the country, in the world.
That Germany and Belgium didn't make it.
They're not going to make it.
But the United States did.
The U.S. did. Morocco won a group. Japan's going to move through. There have been some wild teams that are getting to advance. Australia is through. We talked to Paul Carr yesterday. I'm with Paul. Australia isn't good.
No.
They're not good. No offense to the Aussies out there. I love you people.
No,
they're not a good team, though. They're not. And yet Australia is
Denmark
gone through.
laid an egg, too.
Denmark laid a complete egg.
Yeah.
They were a dark horse pick, and they laid a complete egg.
Yeah, no. That's fantastic.
This is one of the wilder World Cups in recent memory. You got so many just odd teams that you never expect to go through. I can't remember the year right now, but Morocco's the first African team to win a group at the World Cup in forever. It's also good for African soccer. That's awesome. Good for Morocco. That's my favorite story from early on in this group stage. Good for Morocco. They won a group. That's awesome.
I don't really know a whole lot about it, so whatever. I'm not gonna. I don't know a whole lot about Morocco.
Listen, the African teams have the best nicknames, but don't often have the best luck when getting to advance in these cups. So I'm always happy when the African nations get to advance. It's so cool.
And there is a little gamesmanship here. Spain's half is Morocco and Portugal, or Croatia and Brazil if they win. If they lose, they'll play Morocco and then probably Portugal.
Yep.
If they win or tie this match, Then they'll play Croatia and then Brazil. I would rather finish second if I was Spain.
Probably.
Yeah, no question. That's great stuff. Really, really is. We'll get a timeout. We'll finish things off with the mic drop coming up next here on Mic'd Up. Time for the mic drop as we finish things off on this edition of Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton. Coming up tomorrow, we are going to talk all things TCU with Landry Burdine, who is the TCU sideline reporter. Talked with Landry earlier this year. Maybe we'll get some more LaDainian Tomlinson.
We need at least
stories.
one more.
Yeah, we'll get at least one more there. And then we're going to talk with John Sheeran from SB Nation on the Cincinnati Bengals. We will get to all of that. Plus keys to not only Chiefs Bengals, but K-State TCU. Jerome Tang said yesterday, hey, if you're going to go to the game, give it to a person in purple.
Drove. It's a lot of purple there tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot of purple. A lot of purple.
Both schools, purple.
In North Texas.
And trust me, that shade of purple is pretty similar.
What are the shades of purple?
I don't know what their actual Pantone colors are.
A K-State's shade of purple.
Let's see.
Pantone color 268 plus.
TCU. Oh, did you just give me the TCU's is 268C.
Theirs is 268 plus.
That's how close they are. I love that teams give me the branding information on their websites.
Yeah, Washburn's colors are white.
Oh,
and Yale blue.
Jake, Pantone PMS 268C is K-State's on their official website. Or is this a different website? That's not K-State's website. That was K-State's website. You're probably wrong. Not you, that website. Thank you. Give me the K-State branding guide. That's what I wanted. Give me your color kit. There it is. Okay. Wow. I got to go to a really deep section to find it.
It's 268 plus.
That is interesting. Yeah. One website said they were the exact same. K-State looks like they're saying it's differently.
Yeah.
Either way, it's fun.
Yeah.
They're very close. No matter what, they're very close.
Yeah. Washburn's Yale blue and white.
Okay. That's fair.
Do you know your colors?
For KU?
Yeah.
Oh, I know I can't remember the specific shade of blue. I know it's officially blue and crimson. I can't remember the official shade.
No, you don't know if it's Yale blue or if it's...
It's not. I can't remember the official name of the shading.
All right.
I just know the red is specifically crimson. Do not get that wrong. It is officially crimson and blue. Visual shading of the blue, I do not know. I've looked it up numerous times because when I make spot-in charts, I use the Pantone colors of the schools.
What's your mic drop?
This Chiefs-Bengals game's got juice to it. The Bengals are trying to be the first team to beat Mahomes 3 straight times. Burrow was 2-0 against Mahomes. I think that's not being talked about enough.
The World Cup is amazing because Germany, a power, hasn't made it out of the group stage in back-to-back World Cups. Team USA has now advanced 3 straight years out of the group stage. Who would have thought? Coming up, we got 580 Sports Talk.